The Royal Sydney Yacht Squadron DF65 Mark System has been designed for DF65 remote-controlled yachts. If used as designed, the Mark will remain in place over a range of water depths and tidal movement, and importantly, gear will not be lost to the bottom. The system works by anchoring the main line to the seabed with a kettlebell. The main line then runs freely through a swivel shackle at the bottom of the Mark, while a counterweight at the other end of the line keeps it taut. Because this counterweight line can run freely through the swivel shackle in the bottom of the Mark will stay in place regardless of water depth, even if the course is subject to tidal changes or waves. There are also some variations we'll demonstrate for particularly shallow or deep waters. Before arrival, the Mark layer should check sea breeze for the likely tide height and wind direction forecast. A northeast or east course will probably mean the weather marks will be laid in deep water off the end of the outer arm, thus requiring an extension line. This video will explain exactly how this should be done, regardless of the conditions or water depth. The equipment. Each Mark system will comprise the buoy or Mark. Our Marks are made up from a disc-shaped polystyrene cake blank available from cake shops, PVC electrical conduit, coloured pool noodles cut to length, all held together with stainless steel washers, shackles and split pins. At the bottom is a swivel snap shackle. The disc and pool noodles have been reinforced with PVC electrical tape. The equipment also includes a length of line or scope which is 12.5 metres in length. We use ski rope that floats. The midpoint of the line is marked with dye. The reason for this will become clear shortly. A kettlebell to anchor the assembly, a counterweight attached to the other end of the line, an extension line that may be required when deploying in deep water. Note that the line has been shortened by plaiting. It can be lengthened as follows. The extension line has a snap shackle at one end and a spliced loop at the other end. We will explain later how this line is used. The equipment is carefully stowed in a bucket during recovery. We will explain later how this should be done. There are two systems in each bucket. Deploying a Mark. Wait until the tender is stationary. Remove the kettlebell from the bucket and clip on the buoy with the snap shackle. Always ensure the buoy is attached to the line before lowering the kettlebell. Smartly lower the kettlebell to the harbour floor, allowing the line to run through your hand. This will ensure there are no kinks or knots in the line. Observe the location of the line midpoint and let that run through the shackle. This will ensure the line attached to the kettlebell is longer than the length attached to the counterweight. By doing this, we ensure that the counterweight is not sitting on the seabed. Lower the counterweight and line by allowing it to run through your hand until the line is under tension. If the counterweight line hits bottom with a slack line, then the depth is too shallow and the counterweight line must be shortened. Shorten the counterweight line by either tying a coil or overhand knot, depending on how shallow the water is, and then lower the counterweight. Always ensure that the counterweight doesn't bottom out. Deep water. When deploying in deep water, the line may be too short for the kettlebell to sit on the seabed. The extension line will have to be used. By adding the extension line, we are simply ensuring there is enough length for the kettlebell to reach the seabed. To do this, the main line has to be unclipped from the Mark. Lack of attention at this time may result in the entire line and both weights lost to the bottom. It has happened many times. So either recover all gear inboard while a switchover is being made, or secure the counterweight line under your foot. Unclip the extension line from the bucket and undo the plaiting if necessary to lengthen. Unclip the main line from the swivel shackle. Attach the loop end of the extension line to the Mark. Take the end of the extension line with the swivel shackle and connect it to the main line. Deploy kettlebell and counterweight. The the counterweight line must be under tension. Recovery and stowage of buoy and tackle. It is important to carefully stow the equipment as we're about to demonstrate to ensure a trouble-free deployment of the marks the next time they are used. When tender is stationary, lift the mark, line and weights inboard. Before hauling the kettlebell inboard, clear any mud that may be attached so that the tender is kept clean. Unclip the lines from the buoy. Lower the counterweight into the bucket and carefully coil the entire line using the overhand method as shown. This will ensure the coiling process does not introduce kinks or knots into the line and will ensure the line runs freely for the next person who uses it. Place the kettlebell on top of the coiled line to secure. Plait the extension line by tying a single loop, then threading consecutive bends through each resulting loop and tie off at the end. The bucket can accommodate 2 sets of line and weights, and these should be stowed after each set recovery. In summary, when lowering the kettlebell, watch for the painted midpoint marker on the line. If the marker passes through the snap shackle, it means the counterweight will be effective and no further action is required except to lower the counterweight. In shallow water, if the midpoint marker does not pass through the snap shackle, it means the counterweight part of the line is too long and will not be effective. Place a loop in this part of the line and ensure when lowered, the counterweight does not bottom. In deep water, the kettlebell may not bottom out and an extension line may be required. Fix extension line as shown earlier. By understanding how the system works and the correct way to deploy and stow the marks, we can ensure a better day's racing for all.